Hey everyone, my name is Patrick, and thank you for joining us on Create, Post, Repeat, a podcast all about the content creation journey. Today we are flying high, having a conversation with my friend Jeremy, but you may know Jeremy as The Dronalist. And The Dronalist has blown up on Instagram and YouTube, posting the crispiest drone footage you have ever seen. But don't worry, whether you're a drone enthusiast or not, this is an amazing conversation with a content creator that is for sure gonna help you out. So let's get into it. Welcome, Jeremy, to the podcast. We are so glad to have you here. Everyone say hello to Jeremy. You may know him as The Dronalist, though. How are you doing, sir?
Thank you. Very well. I'm doing quite well. It's a Friday. So yeah, feeling good. Friday afternoon. I mean, it's great time. You caught me at a great time.
I want to jump into just a ton of questions, and I want us to get to know you and hear a lot about your content creation journey. But first, do you mind just giving us like a preview, like into your life? Like, what are you up to right now? What are you passionate about? What are you working on? How are you doing, etc.?
Yeah. So right now, it's the winter, so a little less droning, I feel like, than the warmer months. So a little bit more focusing on just looking into different software options. How am I utilizing, kind of post-production things, rethinking those tools, maybe mixing in a few more tools, could just like up-leveling a few of the post-production kind of side of things while have some downtime, while the weather's not cooperating as much, the lighting's not doing great things, and it's dark before I get off work a lot of times. So that kind of, I don't have an option some days. That's what I'm up to now, although I do try to drone at least on a weekly basis. That doesn't always happen because it is such a weather dependent activity. And for me lately, I've just been keeping it really simple and just going back to some of the fundamentals. A lot of really basic shots, but trying to do them like over and over and like a few times. I often rush when I'm in the air and just try to get as much as I can. Lately, I feel like I've been going out with a more of intent and a frame of mind of what I'm looking for and practicing, getting what I would like, what I'm looking for. So yeah, these days a little bit more flying with intent because I'm flying less. So it's like I have time to think about it maybe more and also work it out a little more post-production, just tools, because that's my weakest area for sure. So it's always good to get some education when I can on that front.
Well, that's okay. So like everyone who's wondering now knows, like you literally are the Dronalist, and so now you're talking all about like what you actually do, which you have an amazing Instagram account, which, and correct me if I'm wrong, has then blossomed into an amazing YouTube account where you fly drones and capture some of the most beautiful footage I have ever seen. And I remember,
means a lot. Thank you so much.
I'm serious. I've shown your footage to friends, to family, to people who are looking for footage. And it's mainly, I know you do a lot of traveling, but I know that a lot of it is around New York City. And what also makes it really fun is that you and I could both like lean out of our apartment windows and wave, and if we squinted really hard, be able to see us, like to be able to see each other. So what you're shooting,
maybe some,
right
there,
what you're shooting is all over our city. You're shooting all over the place we live, and I think it's amazing what you do. So could you tell us just a little? The first time actually the first time we met is a whole other story of like not a wedding announcement, but a marriage announcement, and which is a whole other story of where you and your wife, actually your wife's company, I believe, hired me to come and do AV for an event where all of her friends were coming over to her apartment. And I'm testing all of this stuff, and her assistant is looking at me and saying,
the first time we met,
Yes,
Right.
her assistant is looking at me and going, okay, you need to prep this video. I say, what video? I download the video and I test it, and it's an announcement that you guys had gone out of the country, gotten married.
Yeah.
I basically shake your hand once and say hello. The next time we hung out, though, I found out that you were way into drones, and you began talking about this passion you had for drones and for flying, as you were mentioning. But I guess my first question for you is, I'm sure that passion is still there, but has some of that passion bled now into, well, I started posting videos, they're getting traction. Has some of that passion transferred over to actually creating content and growing it as a business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So like you said, Hillary, my wife, is how we met, and also she's the reason I drone as well. It's because yeah, she was working on new ideas for her Instagram channel, and at the time, like drone shots, this was quite a few years ago, were were a novelty, I guess. So they were cool, and people are using. She's like, what if you got a drone? And I was like, oh yeah, that would okay, sure, I'll try it. We could expense it to the company. I'll try, and I'll
Love
see
it.
if I get some. I'll learn how to use it, and I'll take some drone shots of you. We'll add them to your social channels. That never happened, actually, but I kind of as a result just really got attached to drones, like you said. And so for me, it's always been kind of an accident, like a hobby, a passion that I fell into. I think a lot of us do this,
Mhm.
we try something out for the first time, have it like something that piques our interest a little bit, but we're not sure about it. And droning definitely kind of hooked me. And the passion, I think, comes from mostly just doing stuff I wouldn't do otherwise, like going places I wouldn't go otherwise, meeting people I wouldn't meet otherwise. And that part is always cool and exciting. And so, yes, there are days where it's like, my backlog of media is getting pretty short. Like I need to like get some stuff. There's some good weather days coming up, but I'm kind of tired. I don't, maybe I don't quite feel like it all the time. I would say sometimes I don't feel like all the time, but I am always excited for the opportunity, for like the adventure. Like who am I going to meet? What am I going to see? I mean, I think for a lot of hobby, especially in the photography world, like seeing the sunrise at some awesome place. Usually, it's magical, the birds and the way the light is, and it's such an experience. Either I wouldn't get up early to go to be there just without this hobby. It wouldn't be something I would normally
Yeah.
do. And so I'm very grateful just to be able to continue to have these experiences. And so to answer your question, yeah, it's a little bit, some of it becomes like that feeding cycle, right? Like as soon as you have a little bit of success for
Yeah.
having some content that people are recognizing, uh, then you want to keep doing that. And so it's a little bit of feeding the beast, but at the same time, it's such a fun thing to do. And I'm always grateful for the adventure, even if I would admit some days I'm like, I would rather just chill a little bit.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the work um it is kind of sectioned off into when I get approval or when the weather is nice. So it's a
Hmm.
lot of like go, 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 and then stop for a little while. So uh and do like the post production stuff for a while. So I think part of that, like when it's in go mode, and it's like the second, third, fourth day I've gotten up and so early, and I don't, I'm not sure. I'm like, man, or I'm freezing and my fingers, I can't feel my fingers, and stuff like that. But it's always like every time I end a session, I'm always happy. Like I have a positive vibe and like a sense of accomplishment and a sense of yeah, I
You
guess reward.
speaking of adventure, you said something to me once that I will never forget. You looked at me and you said, "If you take droning seriously, every time you go out and fly, you have to be prepared to lose your drone. And that
I
I
didn't say
almost like,
that.
yes,
It's such an
it took
ominous
the
thing to say.
well,
So
it was an
yeah,
honest thing. It was an honest thing because
it's
it
true.
took the air
Yeah,
out of me. I was like,
it's true.
wow. And then you started telling me some stories about how like you've had to I think you said once you lost a drone on the top of a building and you had to go in and say like, "Hey, doorman, door person, can you let me on your roof to get my drone?" Is that like a common thing? Is it? Would you still say that today? Would you still say like you got to be ready to lose some stuff because it's kind of like it is kind of an ominous thing because you are literally flying an aircraft.
Probably put it a little lighter, but you're right. I think that's a correct statement. It's a true thing to have the hobby where your hobby can fly away or has wings, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's there's just a lot more room for error, I think, with what's evolved, you know, because you're using something remotely. But that being said, technology has improved over the, you know, many couple, I don't know how long, 5 years, I guess, since then. And like we have much better capability now, and it is a lot harder, I would say. The frequency level of when I lose a drone is dropped each year. I would say a little bit each year. So it doesn't not happen though. It's still a risk, and I think that's
Yeah.
what I want to get across would be to people that like the drone is great, but once you start pushing it with a drone, you know, you might it's just something you might lose. You might not be able to recover. Be okay with that. Like don't go out of your budget to get something. Trying that, and that's why maybe we'll move into this question. What I try to recommend is usually on the lower budget side, especially for
Yeah.
beginners. But anyway.
Let's appease the nerds really quick. Like, can you actually really quick talk about like so what do you use personally? If you're okay sharing that, do you have multiple drones that you go out with? And then tell me really quickly if someone's like listening and saying like this is exactly what I want to do, but I'm brand new. What is your suggestion as far as like what tech, what kit would you go out with when it comes to drones as a first timer?
Nice. Yeah. So what I'm doing today, as of this moment in time, which is always tricky on something that might live for a little while, but today I use the Autel Evo Lite Plus is my go-to, which is a mouthful. Uh,
Wow.
Autel is a competitor of DJI. They're kind of a rip-off brand. They're both Chinese manufacturers. Um, Autel's cheaper, and I just like their color science better. That personally, I just like the color better. But that's more of an opinion. Either way, um, well, I'll get into recommendations in a second. So that's with my gear. Yes, I usually have two drones always. Um, I try to have like about six batteries between them. And then I usually go out with one drone. Like if I'm just going out locally, it's always just one drone. I don't really bother carrying two anymore. But I'll have, you know, obviously a bunch of batteries that I can swap out, and then and memory cards and ND filters, whatever. And then for travel, I try to always have two drones, and then, you know, a decent amount of batteries, for whatever, depending on where I'm going. But yeah, like usually at least two or three batteries per drone is a general good rule. And then I try to run with two of them. And then a lot of times, like if one gets lost or flies away or something, at least I don't have any downtime when I have another one on back order.
Yeah.
And then as far as recommendations, I would still probably say to go with the DJI drones, even though I've been flying the Autel drones. For beginners, they're just so user friendly and they're really good at what they do. Um, and they're a little bit more expensive on the pricer side. They're like the Apple, you know, of
Yeah.
consumer drones, I guess. And so if you think of them like that, um, you pay a little bit for the brand, I would say. But
Yeah.
for a beginner, I usually recommend to try to find one used, like eBay or somewhere secondhand, so that way you can, or just buy like the next oldest model, like the previous generation. Oftentimes it's just the cost savings, especially because you're not sure if you're into it yet, if it's like something you're really going to
Yeah.
connect with. Like, I hate for
Yeah.
someone to spend because they're still not cheap. Even the lower end ones are, you know, $500 is almost like minimum to get into anything, you know, these days. Like the Mini Pro is like 800. It's ridiculous. Like, I don't know
Yeah.
how you know, they're expensive. They do way more, but they're not that cheap anyway. So, that being said, I do usually recommend some lower, like the the DJI Airs are really good, and the minis are great for learning as well. Any
Mhm.
like this the second generation on up, I think are awesome. Um, so yeah, that's what I would kind of recommend. Just get like the feel for it on the budget. And honestly, if you want to upgrade, they retain their value pretty well. And
Yeah.
if they're in good shape and they're not busted up, you can usually do that. And I've sold a lot of, not a lot, but a decent amount of drones on eBay when I'm done with that generation and I need to get to the next one. Um,
Yeah.
so I can attest that they definitely hold their value and you can always upgrade. That's what I recommend.
I had no idea that your wife was like, "Hey, we should get this drone. You should shoot some footage for me," and that kind of started you on this path. That's hilarious. That's
I know.
awesome.
It's all her doing, really. And she kind of
Oh
opened the
man.
space for me to have that opportunity because otherwise it is an expensive thing that I wasn't really sure I wanted to spend the money on for myself. You know, it's like an expensive thing for sure.
Yes.
To anyway.
I actually completely get that because like right now I'm shooting on a Sony ZV-E10 and I'm in the past couple of years I've started to take my YouTube channel really seriously and I want to grow and I want to be better and there was a time where and I tell everybody if you're going to upgrade anything when it comes to YouTube and you're doing like talking head stuff like me start with your audio because your phone camera is great but there is that point where you get this great blurry background and you have this great lens and and it was like an $800 or $900 purchase. And I remember talking to my wife. I'm like, Teresa, I think it's time. It's a hard thing to do. And then you baby the product. And I mean, like, and I don't fly mine in the air. You're out there, sending yours over buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
But you started eventually you started posting videos and you started on Instagram, right?
Yes, that's a great question, but yeah, that's a good point. I did start on Instagram. I think technically my YouTube channel predates it, but it wasn't like,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if it was used at all. Yeah, but I think, yeah, you're
And
right. I think it's Instagram first.
yeah, and you now have, for people who aren't familiar with your content, and many people are, you have videos. It is not shocking to see videos on both. Well, I pay attention more so to your YouTube channel, but to see videos with tens of thousands of views, if not some of them being hundreds of thousands of views. So, can you actually kind of walk me through what you were feeling when you said, and I'm putting words in your mouth here, so forgive me, but like, just you're like, I'm going to post these videos. Wow, this is fun. I like doing this. And then starting to see them gain traction. Was that immediate? Was that pretty gradual? And kind of my follow up to that is, at what point did you say, well, I'm going to take this seriously and try to grow it into something where it's actually somewhat of a business or a little bit more than just something fun that Jeremy likes to do. So you start posting videos. When did you start seeing traction? Was it right away? Was it quick? Was it a long time coming?
Yeah, it took a little while. So the videos for the first, um, I want to say 9 months or a year or so were pretty low, like very low engagement, um, and not really a lot of exposure. Not um, also not. I think you're not able to monetize until you hit like 1,000
Yep.
users, and so I remember just getting from 0 to 1,000 was
Huge.
the biggest, yeah, the longest, like was the hardest part, and um, I had for me, I was lucky because, yeah, I had Instagram where I was content collecting already and this kind of habit already. So progressing that to YouTube, was definitely work, but it was a natural next step. And so with having kind of the machine almost to support the YouTube, to help support that at least, was foundational, because that allowed me to have a consistent cadence of videos. And I think YouTube just eventually, like once I kind of sort of proved myself to YouTube that I am a creator putting out stuff every week or whatever, that to show that whatever they need to see. I'm not sure how their algorithm works, but whatever I hit to prove that, I think it took um, at least a half a year. Within my first year, it was pretty low. Like I didn't have much. I didn't, to the point where I didn't really even look really at analytics or like a whole lot. Like it wasn't, yeah, exciting because it wasn't happening. Like nothing much was happening. And and then I think just that consistency over time, doing like 3 to 5 videos a month. So not like crazy, but just having at least once a week kind of thing for a while was, and not really stopping that, just having a consistent flow. There was a point where I just kind of jumped, like it's almost like YouTube let the door open a little more, They're like, okay, we'll
Yeah,
expose
yeah.
you to a few more people, right? And um, at that point, I started getting a lot more serious about the metadata on the video. Like
Yeah.
before, I was just putting up videos a little more nonchalantly, and even now that my videos they're not super deep detailed, but at least they do contain like sort of like the appropriate keywords for search to be able to do its thing, and like just kind of taking the right approach. There's, I'm sure there are a lot of um, videos or a lot of tutorials how to, what steps to take. And so just like incorporating some of those, right? Like just some of those practices about like adding correct like kind of video, like looking when your audience is on and trying to schedule a cadence
Yeah.
for what just like the general kind of thing. Like that's when I started paying attention to, okay, maybe I can actually grow this a little bit. And so then around the same time, I feel like I hit 1,000 subs, and I was able to really kind of take off from there. Um, it it was also around that time, because I had been droning for a little while, that I started experimenting with longer form video, like different
Yes.
forms. Like I had done a lot of more shorter, like 2 minute, 3 minute kind of videos, um, and like just like the production was a lot different, um, like more edited production. So like a more choppy, like music video-y kind of feel, as opposed to like a longer format, lo-fi hip hop feel, like screensaver
Yes.
vibe that they are now. So I think discovering just kind of playing with a few formats and then discovering what worked, like what kind of format was retaining people. Um,
So
and
can I interrupt and
yeah,
ask something?
yeah.
So at this point now today, let's pretend you made a video, you're about to post it. We have this conversation, you go post it on YouTube. Are you now deep? Maybe deep's the wrong word, but do you now pay attention to your analytics and the metadata to basically try to capitalize on the bit of following you've created?
Yes. Now I treat it more responsibly, I would say. What I'm creating, where I do try to properly put out the video. And when I mean properly, I mean just it's pretty basic for me, because I don't need subtitles. Like I don't need
Yeah.
a lot of like extra post. I don't know. Just like my process might be different than others, but I just try to do it the correct way, where I have an intent of what product I'm trying to
Yeah,
make or
correct for
deliver.
you.
Right? Yeah, correct for me. Right? What I'm up to these days, at least, and then have have it done the right way. So, for example, just having, I noticed a lot of people drop off pretty soon after videos, and I think that's probably true for a lot of analytics. But
Yeah.
that's true for my videos, right? And so, trying to update my intro, for example, things
Yeah.
like that, like just and focusing on the time. So every video will be kind of tailored, have a little bit more polish, I would say. Yeah, with the like metadata. And then yes, you're right. I do I do pay attention more to analytics, less per video, although I am curious when things do, especially bad or good.
Yeah.
Most of my videos are pretty even. So it's like, and I just check, okay, cool, it's doing even like normal.
Yeah.
When there are outliers, I am always try to dig in and figure out like the reason. But yeah, I basically look at analytics overall, like a more of a monthly kind of approach to it, just holistically, because it is hard to tell. I feel like content, some of them do good, some people, I don't know, videos, they just like it's easier for me to see on a monthly kind of scale.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
if I
And
dive
for
in too deep, it's just
Yeah, and I just want to say for people that don't know, like when you're talking about long form content, you're talking about the fact that you would take these great videos, like over New York City or like over Battery Park or one, oh, what's that? Like the Oculus or what's the one that's over Hudson Yards now?
the edge, the observation deck. Oh,
Yes.
you're talking about the vessel, maybe the art,
Yeah, the
the
vessel.
art
So
thing. Yeah,
you would have like short form content that was like a couple minutes over that, and now you're doing like longer form videos where you're actually like, it's as if you are a superhero flying down the street in New York City, which is amazing. And my one of my favorite long forms that you did recently was you did some sort of like a 2022 recap or something, or maybe it was 2021, where it was like well over an hour of like some of your favorite shots or like a bit of a compilation, right?
exactly. Yeah, I came out with my end of year reviews, like
Yeah.
the stuff from New York in 2022. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was long. That was about it. Yeah, 2 hours. I think over 2 hours ish. Yeah, that was a long
yeah,
one.
that's just incredible. So you're in the analytics. You're basically like you're saying like you look over the month of like what's done well and what hasn't. But like you're right. Like most of your videos, like from following you, watching your videos, like as a YouTuber, when I watch a video, as I'm enjoying it, I will also almost always see how many people have watched this. Or,
Yeah.
where is this being watched or something like that. So you're actually in those analytics, seeing them grow. And your channel, you're monetized now, right? So if you don't mind me asking, and you don't have to share details or anything, are you seeing this as kind of a fun, making a few dollars here and there? Are you seeing this as a viable part-time job because you work full-time? You're a full-time employee somewhere, just like me. So we're doing these are side hustles for us. Are you seeing that are you seeing like monetarily? Are you seeing growth where you're like this could become pretty legitimate for me, or maybe it's already there?
Yeah, YouTube isn't there for me. My channel isn't so big. I wish, yeah, I wish I could say that I could quit my job.
Yeah.
But however, but to your point, yeah, it is a revenue stream that I'm super grateful for that I didn't anticipate really coming into this. Definitely
Yeah.
didn't think it would be something to like actually be a chunk of change that you're like, wow, this is helpful. This is like a revenue stream, albeit,
Yeah.
I can't quit my job or whatever. Like, but yeah, it helps a lot. And I think as far as long term, um, it's that is really tough to say because if you would have asked me the first couple of years of my YouTube channel, I would have said yeah for sure because my growth was just like pretty on a pretty good curve going up. But
Yeah.
the last couple of years, like lately, the last couple of years, it's pretty much plateaued. And so like um because I went from like 10,000 to 50,000 or 40,000, I feel like within a year or so. And so if you would ask me,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I'm going to be like 100,000 a couple, but then it
Yeah.
slowed down. So now I'm like, 1,000 or 2,000 a month or something, very, but
Yeah.
it's very steady, but it's very like modest, right?
I find
Um,
that I find that with
yeah,
a lot of content creators where it's not only 1,000 subs, you also have to get at 4,000 hours of watch time. And so many people are like,
yeah,
I need more
right,
subs,
right.
I need more subs, I need more
Yeah,
subs, I need more. But the hardest thing is getting that watch time for a lot of
yeah,
people. And what was really funny about my channel back in the day is I had this little YouTube channel. It had 75 subscribers, mostly pals of mine, probably.
sure, yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
and I put it on pause. I wasn't doing it with intentionality. And then I said, I'm going to start a new YouTube channel. And a buddy of mine who was farther along said, don't start a new YouTube channel. You've already got 75 subscribers. You don't know how hard that is. And I was
Yeah,
like, oh. And so, but since my YouTube channel is so
yeah,
old, I had a few thousand hours of watch time already from some like videos of my kids or something.
yeah.
So then fast forward, this is what I find is that content creators, they finally get the subscribers, they finally get the watch hours, and then there is, like you said, this little open door where you go from like 10,000 to 20,000 or 1,000 to 1,500, or you just kind of see some
Yeah,
growth. And
yeah.
then it's like, yes, 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 yes. And then it does feel like you tend to plateau. And I feel like one thing I really respect about you, and one thing that I'm kind of pushing through myself, is that that's when people quit because
Mm,
it's not your full-time job. It's making a little but not enough. And you're putting hours of work into these videos. So I guess like my question for you is, have you ever been like, okay, so I'm plateauing here, which isn't bad. Plateauing at 50, 60,000 subscribers, that's great. And you also have Instagram.
mhm.
When you feel that plateau, or as you feel that plateau happening, are you like, okay, Jeremy, you've got to keep going? Or do you feel the stress of I need to grow? Or like what are your feelings moving forward with your channel?
Yeah, I don't have a ton of stress about it, not a ton of pressure, I would say. Just because I don't have to rely on it. I haven't made it like part
Yeah.
of my budget yet necessarily. Right now it's
Yeah.
just kind of it pays for the gear, pays for like if I'm traveling to do a shoot or something, whatever. But um yeah, otherwise it's money that I don't have to depend on, at least yet right now. I'm in
Yeah.
that thankful position, um
Yeah.
super grateful to be in. So like I think that alleviates a lot of the pressure, like, oh my God, I have to grow this.
Yeah.
Because I I think I would go crazy just trying to figure out how to appease the social gods, and like growing stuff is just such a everyone's talking about like the algorithm. How do you and there's so many, now they're doing this and now you gotta do that. And
Yeah. Oh,
get sucked in them doing YouTube shorts and not that anything is bad, like anything new is bad. I'm not trying to down any, but I don't want to get sidetracked on like things that just like take the joy away as opposed to
yeah.
um this being something I can it's like a balance, right? Like I want to find the balance, being able to continue to sustain this without having too much pressure. Um and I want it to grow. I want to do the best I can, but there has to be a balance where I'm not, suffering my other
Yeah.
aspects of my life aren't suffering, like, friend life, personal life, or church life, whatever. Like
Yeah.
they have to be a balance of what my life is about. And so I'm trying to just understand that, take the pressure off. Like let's not, for now at least. And I can make that choice in the future if this does keep growing and and that looks like, wow, maybe I could turn the page and actually start doing, tutorials, or start, doing more and being more involved. Um, we'll cross that bridge. But for now, it's still in like the low pressure. Let's just see where this
Yeah.
goes. I'm not
Yeah.
really going to treat this as a big deal until I get like at least 100K or something, like a bit, when that
Yeah.
head, I'm like, wow, you're actually like, that's a big number. And I don't
Yeah.
think I'm there anytime soon.
Well,
So,
that's a really
but
good place to be. and I think that like, you've heard that, you've probably heard this phrase before, but like comparison is the thief of joy. And like,
Yeah.
instead of saying like, what could this be? And what, yeah,
There you go.
it's like, instead of saying like, what could this be? You're saying, I'm keeping the joy in it. I'm thankful for where I'm at. Same with me. I don't, all in all, my YouTube channel doesn't have to perform. I want it to.
Yeah.
I want it to. And if it does, that's a bridge that I can eventually cross. I almost said a bridge I can eventually burn, which is kind of negative. A bridge I can eventually cross. Yeah,
Do whatever you want with the bridge at that point.
Yeah. I spoke recently to a guy who has experienced, he's a good friend of mine, who's experienced tons of growth on Instagram. And just, it seems like it happened overnight, but it literally happened over like 5 years of hard work. And it's this account, he goes by Tidy Dad. And he's in this like he's a dude who has an amazing family that became obsessed with Marie Kondo, tidying up your life. And I'm sitting there looking at him going, you have like 400,000 followers now. Like, when are you quitting your job? And he's like, oh, I'm not. And kind of just laid out this like, I know at any moment this could disappear. I love what I do and I don't want to stop doing it. And right now I'm just taking every day as a gift, and maybe one day this is my job. And here I am with almost 2,000 subscribers on YouTube going like, when do I get to just do this? And it is this struggle where the comparison can become like super draining. So I just really respect that perspective, especially how you talked about it not cutting into or taking away from family life or community or marriage or other passions or your work, which I'm assuming you still enjoy somewhat. So I just think that's a really cool perspective and something that people need to hear.
Yeah, it's hard to do any kind of content creation. It's so hard to keep that up. And I think it's key, like you said, to find that balance. And also, if you can get some other part of it that is not just for the sake of the content creation, but is like a positive byproduct of the activity. So in my situation, I'm able to, go, like I said, meet people and explore and do new things. And I think if, like for your example, you get to learn about, you get to become more educated, right? You have to become like somewhat of an expert on whatever kind of topic you're sharing. And so I feel like doing those things that improve your life, so to speak, like that edify your life, that like fulfill or make your life fuller. If you can bring that into it, so they kind of work hand in hand, is a really a good recipe for like a scalable, kind of long-term thing. Because otherwise just doing it to get the machine, like getting it done it's just like, it's hard. It's just hard enough to, even when it's something you love. So I just think like, do something you enjoy. It's cliche, but just like do something else that like makes your life more full and like expands your horizons a little bit. Yeah.
It's really cool. Like, you and I mean, you've mentioned this a couple of times and I love this perspective that you and I, we both come from a privileged place. We're paying our bills. And for me personally, when I say we're paying our bills, I mean my wife, because she makes more money than me and she's, kind of amazing. But we're paying our bills, we're living, we're doing fine. But at the same time, we have this, it's fun to have this outlet. And I love that you pointed out that having this outlet, having this creative process allows us to learn. I had a friend in high school named Ian that I should reach out to. I haven't in forever. But he was one of my best friends. We played in bands together. We played football together. That's right. I'm an amazing athlete. Not a big deal. But he looked at me once and I was so fed up with school. I really struggled in school. And I said, I hate learning. And he said, no, you don't. Learning is awesome. And I've always remembered that. And you and I are also in this place where like, we're doing this content creation, but we're also learning new things. Mm-hmm. And when your brain expands and when your heart expands for something, there's something like truly life-giving about that. So I just like, kudos to you for all of that. I think that's super, super powerful. But I want to stay here in all of this emotional, gushy, great stuff about our spirits and how we're thriving. But I do want to ask you just one more Quick question about like, growth and content creation, because you kind of alluded to it, but if you look at your YouTube channel or even your Instagram account as
Mhm.
a revenue stream, you mentioned, I think you said kind of like getting booked to go and film elsewhere. Do you have other revenue streams that are coming out of the Dronalist, as in getting booked to
Mm.
film other places? Do you have like affiliate marketing going on where people are clicking on links to buy drones you recommend? Do you have any of those other streams going on, or is it strictly just like YouTube AdSense right now?
Yeah, so that's another thing. Yeah, I'm able to alleviate some of the pressure with having the hobby create different revenue streams. So the primary one currently is stock footage, and that's pretty unique probably to my niche, you know. Um, but I think for in the photographer world, I think most people could fall into that category. So for me, um, I've been able to build up kind of a large library of footage that I'm able to resell
Where
on
do you
stock
resell it?
footage. Pond 5 is my primary. I'm an exclusive um, seller through them, which just means that I don't sell elsewhere, which means then it just means I agree to not sell elsewhere, which then means that I get 60% share. So their offerings
Ooh.
are kind of the better, best is what when I did research as to what stock footage platforms existed. So they offer, if you are exclusive with them, they offer a 60-40 split. So that's amazing for what's out there. So that's the one I currently use. I did use Shutterstock, but they kind of have a messed up revenue sharing plan. It's a little less fair in my
Stay
opinion.
away from Shutterstock.
So
Noted. Got it.
I mean, whatever works for you, but that's been a really good resource of revenue. That's been the primary. That's bigger than YouTube
Oh,
and
interesting.
everything. Yeah, that's that one will help me quit my job faster than anything. So like I'm really lucky to have this to have a like other revenue streams or benefits from this hobby that I do on YouTube. So that one is the main one. And the second one is independent jobs. So
Oh.
um as the summer comes around, spring comes around, those jobs will pick up, and they're mostly the super talls in my area. So I've done a little bit of work outside of my area, but I almost say no to everything that isn't in New York, and I keep the travel stuff to stuff that I want to do. But the stuff in New York, I can say yes to because I kind of know how to get authorization a little better. And I have a lot of practice getting authorization, I should say. And so, um, so I'm
Well,
able
can
to
I,
create revenue streams by basically, shooting video for clients on certain buildings. I can't sell that on stock footage, so it's like a one time. It's like a
yeah.
one and done, but it is good money for those
Yeah.
small amount of hours comparatively.
I think I respect videographers and especially photographers because it's like, nowadays it feels like you can buy a camera, point it at anything and it looks good, but it's just not true. There's people that can do that can create footage with their iPhone that I will never be able to create.
Yeah,
And here I
I
am,
know.
with a great camera and a great lens. It's so infuriating. But one thing I was actually, when I was thinking about like what should me and the Dronalist talk about, the stress of capturing the shot while also flying through the air. Like I had a drone for a little while. You're going to hate me for this. I did sell it off just because I wasn't using it a lot. It was so fun. I loved it, but I just didn't use it enough and I wanted to
Yeah,
buy some other
totally.
gear, so I sold it
Yeah.
off.
But
But
yep,
the
that's
stress of you lost signal, the stress of I didn't see that tree, the stress of all that
yeah,
along with
yeah.
your footage is not just in the air. Your footage is just on your channel is just immaculate. So like
Well, thank you.
when you said earlier, I'm saying all this because you said earlier, like, well, I feel like photographers can do that too, or something like that. And I'm like, no, you're doing something really special, and I think it's great. It's cool to like create those other revenue streams. It's fun when those come to fruition. And
Yeah, super
you
blessed.
know,
That's been I would never guess that. Like that that's been a
yeah.
surprise and a very yeah, happy one. Yeah.
I recently had a guy comment on one of my videos and say, "This is exactly what I've been looking for, like a tutorial on content creation, specifically with Final Cut Pro. I know you're
Yeah.
a Premiere user. We can still be friends. It's fine." But he said,
Can make it work.
uh, "Yeah," he said, "I don't know how to do this. Can I hire you to teach me how to do this?" And it was just
Yeah.
so. There's always ways. There are always ways you can go out there and hustle. And I feel like so many
Mhm.
people are attracted to the YouTube AdSense thing. But it really is, creating a career out of content creation is actually more so the stuff outside of just your YouTube channel. So it's really cool to hear like some of the ways
Yeah.
you're doing
That's a
that.
good point.
It's amazing. So I want to ask you to kind of wrap up. I want to ask you two questions,
Mhm.
and I want you to answer them any way you want. If someone is starting to do what you do, and by any way you want, I mean if someone is thinking about stock footage, if someone's thinking about droning, if someone's thinking about going out and getting their drone license, if someone's thinking about
Mhm.
starting that YouTube channel, becoming a content creator, like just in your experience, this is your right answer. Like, what advice would you give them? I mean, and if you can stick to your niche or stay out of it, however you want to do it, what advice would you give to someone who's kind of looking at your YouTube channel, going like, "Man, I want to do this."
Doing a YouTube channel, I would say it has to be on something like a hobby you really love. I know we touched on this earlier, but
Yeah.
something you enjoy or can really nerd out on, something that um, you can continue to do, right? Like not that you want to
Yeah.
do and then you finished it, right? But like something that you're a passion about, and that I think all of us have certain things that we're passionate about. Or there's certain things you want to learn about, right? Like maybe you want to
Yeah.
become an expert on like these kind of things, or you just want to be better at like camera, like talking or public speaking um or all those soft
Yeah.
skills, that are going to become more important as AI takes over, right? Or
Yes.
whatever. So
Right.
like I don't know, yeah, whatever. Yeah. So like all those things like have a goal basically is my point, right? So like the goal is I want to be better at this or learn this or have this skill, and then your channel should be based on those criteria as opposed to the channel for the sake of the channel itself. Because I feel like if that's true, you'll just get so discouraged by the start of it, because really when you start, like no one will, like YouTube, not no one, YouTube won't like really be kind to you or share you
No.
amongst its fellow patrons or whatever. So you have to be at the mercy of kind of the machine. And so that means being able to do something where you're getting some other benefit, like you're learning, you're enjoying, you're exploring, whatever, you're expanding. And as a result, you kind of have videos, right? That should be the idea, as opposed to like, I have to get videos, I have to get videos, and then they'll grow, right? Because I have enough or whatever it'll be. It has to be about the subject matter as opposed to the content creation itself. And then also I would recommend just having like don't start a channel without, I think it's coming up like stuff, but like don't start without like 10 videos, that not that you have to put out 10 out at once or anything, but just that you like want to do this, right? Like don't just do a few and then have a cache of videos also. That way, one thing key for me is that I always have a backlog of videos. There's never, that's what's
Yeah.
alleviate a lot of stress. Like if I ever feel like, oh my God, I have to do something this week or today in order for my deadline of whatever Friday or
Yep.
whatever video release, oh my God, then I think I would hate this more. Like I would be frustrated with this activity much more. So I would recommend like just batching stuff, like and being able to do to be able, like, you obviously going to learn more of how to create stuff, and so it might just be one at a time at first, but always learn how to improve that process. Because for me, I think also it's key to as you continue to to put out videos, you want to make your workflow leaner because you'll
Yes.
get and more automated, right? Because you'll get annoyed by the manual labor that you do every video. And so
Yes.
I try to take time to automate some of it, a little bit of it, right? Every like free time I get. So it's part of my creation in general process. It's not just making the videos, but it's like the process itself. How do we how do we get this more streamlined? And that's going to look different for everybody, but there are key principles that we can all apply, like batch recording or things like that. But
Yeah.
like just getting that down so that way you're focused on the meat of it, right? Like you want a camera where it's less buttons and you know how to use, because if you're all day in the field
Absolutely.
just playing with settings, you kind of there's no meat and you lose really the core of what you're going after. So yeah,
Absolutely.
just refine your process as you go and just think of it as like a learning thing itself. Like learning how to make YouTube is a thing itself. And so there's so much involved that you're going to be forced to expand just by the nature of getting into this, that you just be willing to be cool with that. Like, I don't really want to learn After Effects. I don't care that much, but it's going to make my intro cool if I could just add a little like tiny bit of pizzazz. And so,
Yeah.
feeling, yeah, but it's cool. I'm learning. Like you said, I'm learning stuff, man. This is awesome. Like we get to expand.
Yeah.
So that's all. Just, yeah, just think of
Uh,
it like you're expanding and you'll be
you're
better.
you're like you're like a content creation sleeper agent, and it's infuriating because we start this podcast and I'm like, tell me about, you're like, man, I just like, I'm not taking it too serious and just like having fun and learning. And then I'm like, what's the one piece of advice? You're like, okay, you need to create a plan. Do not do anything unless you care about it. Get to the meat. And that is such gold. Like that is my 15-year-old. I have three kids. I'm exhausted. My 15-year-old loves making YouTube content, and
Oh,
we have to be
sweet.
really careful with that. And
Yeah.
he, unfortunately, he just got COVID. I mean, here we are, and then one day, this video is going to exist online forever. One day, someone's going to listen to that section and go, "What is COVID? What is that?" It's going to be like, anyway. He basically, in our 2-bedroom apartment with 5 people, was like sequestered, quarantined in the boys' room. So our 2-bedroom apartment with 5 people turned into a 1-bedroom. That whole
Yeah.
time, he made like 50 videos.
Well,
And
that's
he
yeah.
went, and most of them were shorts, 10, 15 seconds, 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And it was stuff he loved. He went from like, I think in that time, he went from like 350 subscribers to just this morning, he said, "Dad, I hit 500." And it was so cool to watch that happen.
That's
But
so
anyway,
cool.
like, it's like really
Dang.
cool. And he's actually been a huge part of my YouTube journey. When I hit 1,000, he was sitting right beside me and was like more
Yeah.
excited than I was. Oh, I'm gonna get
Yeah.
emotional. It was really. He was like, "Dad, you
Yeah.
did it!" And I'm
Yeah.
like, "We did it! High
Yeah.
five!" Like, but it's like what you're saying. It's like caring about what you're posting. Using your free time. He could have just sat there and done nothing. Using your free time to like do that extra thing that's going to help you grow or to learn something. I just think that is such gold, man. That is so good. Thank you so much for sharing that. My final thing for you before we kind of wrap this up is, do you have any like one or two just like this crazy thing happened when I was droning stories? Like I said earlier, the whole thing where you had to like go up to whoever was running the door at an apartment building or a business and say, "My drone's on your roof. Can I go get it?" Do you have any other stories like that, like interactions with the police or getting in trouble for droning or losing your drone or any of that you can share with us that's like, just like a personal experience of yours that was really interesting?
Yeah. Yeah, I have a few. I should probably like keep track and like write a memoir maybe eventually, like, way down the line.
A drone memoir?
Drone memoir of all the experiences. Yeah, I have a few.
Memoir of a droner.
Yeah. Um, I would say there was this one time I was flying over there's a big, huge lake at this big, huge park called Prospect Park in Brooklyn. And I was flying like in the middle of the lake, kind of like above, this body of water. And my drone remote for some reason decided to like, I forget, this is a few generations ago, but it decided to like die, or maybe because I forgot to charge it. I don't remember. For whatever reason, I lost connection, couldn't fly with my drone. So I'm just watching my drone hover over water, losing battery
Oh.
without being able to do anything with it, you know. Uh, and I
So
forget
wait,
what.
just hovering there?
Oh wait, yeah, the phone died. So there wasn't any. That's right, the phone died. So it was just hovering there. Um, and I didn't know where it was at first because it was on the other side of the lake, so I didn't have any like visual and exactly like couldn't quite tell where it was, and so I had to like get on my bike and ride to like where closer to the shore kind of side where it was, and then from there I could use I was able to, the controller still worked. It was just like there's no visual. So I was able
Oh
to
my
kind of
gosh.
like eyeball it and see and come back safely. Um, but I just remember thinking I'm gonna like lose this drone just sitting here where it's like over water. But thankfully they got that back. One time I was flying around Herald Square,
Yeah.
and
It's the busiest
uh,
area of New York, busiest area.
it's a very busy area of New York, but I had permission, and it's before I took off, there was some police. And so, there's a good advice. I tried to, getting FAA approval is one thing, but getting municipality approval is like a different thing. And I tried to just get
Oh.
permission, and like when I'm there, like, more often than not, depending on the area, like, but a lot of New
Meaning
York.
you
Meaning, I
just
try to
walk
find the
up.
police that are there present, because usually I'm in like I'm always in a square, a park, a large open area.
Yeah.
I don't fly around. I don't take off or land around any buildings. Whatever. A lot of safety measures. So because of that, I'm only in certain kind of large areas where there's usually some kind of authority personnel I can find. So oftentimes I'll explain what I'm doing and just let them know. It's just like a good thing I found to
Rule of
be
thumb.
proactive. Yeah, and
Yeah.
because whatever, there it's a little more gray area about getting approval. So I try to just ask permission while I'm there. Anyway, so that's why did like the police, hey, you can fly a drone. Um, and I said, yeah, here's stuff, and here's my license and stuff. And so they like, cool, proceed. And I was like, cool. And then I'm in the middle of it, and they come and they're like, hey, come back, bring your drone down. And I was like, I'm in the middle of this. True, man. And they're like, yeah, bring it down. I'm like, very compliant. I'm just like, okay, yeah, cool. Like they want to talk, bring your drone. Okay, so what do you want? What's up? They're like, okay, we're gonna have to take your drone. And I'm just like, why? What's the problem? They're like, well, we don't know. Like I don't know what's wires got crossed, but there was like some. I tried to explain. They're like, you get it back, you just have to go. And I'm like, man, I don't want to go to court and like talk. And I'm like, just give me the battery. Give me. I don't know. I was starting pleading. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why? They were just kind of confused, and one of their superior was just confused, and so they just said, "Take." I don't. It was the weirdest thing. No one's ever taken a drone of mine. So,
Oh.
that it was like whatever. I had to go to court a couple of days later, and the judge threw it out, and he's like, "Here's your license, here's your paperwork. Okay, like, get out of here."
Wait, they
But
took your drone?
they literally took it, and I had to go to the judge and the next day or two, whatever, and he was like, yes, you should get your drone back. So he had to sign a paper, said like, give this guy his drone back, which at that point was at some impound in Queens, and so I had to like go to somewhere across town, um, and it took like a half a day. I spent like the morning in court and trying, and then like the police station, because at first I thought it was there like at One Police Plaza, which is the main one in Manhattan, and where the courthouse.
Oh.
But they're like, no, you have to go like right now. It's been transferred. I'm like, how did you what? And they're like, thankfully I got it back the same day and stuff like that. But it was just like, okay, this was a weird.
That's
I went to
infuriating.
Impound. I was like, "Do you guys have a lot of drones?" They're like, "Yeah, we have a lot of drones." I was like, "Cool. I'll have to like check out when your auction." So we have a lot of drones here. Probably go for cheap, but yeah, that was a frustrating kind of like, what the heck. Um, and let's see, I'll leave you with one.
Wait, hold on, hold
Um,
on. Can we just marinate
oh,
on that
sure.
for a second?
Uh huh.
I'm trying to imagine when I only spent, I got the DJI Mini 2 when I had a drone.
Hmm.
If a police officer said, A, you can do this, and then B walked up and said, give me the drone,
Yeah,
I would flip out.
that's why I was very confused. I felt like entrapment. I was like,
And I would also think,
so
I'm never getting this back. I'm never getting this
that's
back.
what I thought. Yeah, he was kind of confused. Just like, I don't know. Like they just, I don't know. I'm gonna take it, I guess. And I was like,
That's just
what?
a
What?
bad.
Why,
That's a
dude?
bad look. It's a bad
I know.
look.
So that's what the judge thought too. He's like, I don't get it. Get it. Get out of here. So
Yeah, and then and like
whatever.
so you had to get involved with. That's what's infuriating. You're involved with the legal system now, and you know everyone else except for whoever said take the drone. It's like, what are we doing here? There are
Yeah,
criminals running around.
I know. Yeah.
This guy, this isn't. He's not NBC out shooting news footage. It's a dude. We just took a
Yeah.
dude's property. I'm sorry. I had to marinate on that for a little. That's exact. I wanted you to share a story like that, but now I'm just it's just infuriating.
Yeah.
Anyway, you
It
said you
is.
had one more. I
Yeah.
just
Well, I feel like
go
part
go
of
for
it's
it.
with the proper. It's like usually everyone's really cool, and so I have to be grateful for that. And then every once in a while,
Yes.
people are just weird, and I have to go through a few hoops. But this is the relatively new thing. He never seen a drone license before, like, and I don't think
Yeah.
he understood what I don't know. Anyway, so it's like I just kind of chalk it up like, okay, you just don't know, but that's fair. Like, I guess. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, let's see. So the last one I'll leave you with was another water story, and
Oh no.
this one unfortunately didn't end as well. It was not
Mm.
that long ago. This was back in fall. Right now we're in spring, or like we're I don't know what we're in. It was February. Yeah,
Sprinter.
not quite. Yeah, we'll call it
Yeah.
whatever this airs. I don't know. So yeah, this was like 6 months ago. It wasn't that long ago, and I was flying like a 2 year generation old drone from Autel, and I was in the air maybe 10 minutes before the battery dropped from like 90% to 50, something crazy. And I was like, oh yikes! And um, I wasn't in a dangerous area, like for say, like over cars or anything. But I was, I'm flying in the air with a problem. So it's always risky. And so immediately, whenever obviously anything, there's a risk or anything is weird, I always come home, obviously. And so I'm attempting to do that. And then the battery just like is coming back, and it's coming back quickly. Like I can tell it's not fighting wind necessarily or anything, but the battery just keeps chunking at like 10%, like every like
Oh,
couple seconds or something. And I'm just like, something's wrong with his battery. What is going on? And then I can see it. Like I see it so close. It's like I'm on the pier on the water. And this thing's like floating off the pier, like not the and it's so dead, it doesn't know how to like come back to me. Like I'm pushing the
oh,
controls, and it's like just trying to land on water, but it can't because it's like it's water, and the sensors are like, I
yeah.
don't know how to land on this. And then it's just trying to like, so it's losing more battery trying to figure out how to land. And I just needed to come up like, 2 meter, like 10 feet, maybe if that, just to where I'm at to like get it over land.
Oh, so you're
And
just looking at it like right
it's
in
just
front of
like
you, essentially.
it's just like 20 feet in the distance, and just kind of keeps trying to go up a little bit, hover, and like trying to land, emergency land, emergency land. And I just needed to like have enough battery to just get up
Are
high,
people
like
watching you do this?
probably. I mean, normally in New
Oh,
York, no one cares. It's not like, I don't know,
yeah.
but they usually whatever. But I'm sure. And then I just like and then it just loses and just kind of goes in the water eventually and goes down. And
Oh, gone
it's
forever.
like, yeah, just like and that was painful because it's like you could see it, and you just, the controls won't work because it's so dead. It's trying to like
Oh,
it's like overriding itself, trying to land. I don't know, but
I would have cried. I would have cried. I
yeah, that was those times. They're always just like, yeah. I
and
try
then
to
you're
chalk it
just
up, like I'll lose one every so often, so I just try to have it as a budget almost, of like just try not to think about it too
oh.
hard, but it's always very
And then you're just
painful.
literally standing there, controller in your hand, just like,
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll go home now. The controller in my hand and no footage and no drone. That's
Oh, that's terrible.
I know, man. Those are the worst. So
Oh,
that
that's
was
terrible. Well, I just I'm so thankful that you shared that with us, but like I'm just what a downer. The
yeah.
police are stealing your drones. Drones are swimming in front of you. Oh man, that's terrible. Well, listen, man, I'm so thankful you took the time to chat with us today
Of
because
course.
it has been so fun to watch your content creation journey. Before we go, can you just tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah.
Yeah, can you just tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, I'm the dronalist. Like it's drone A list. That's the name. I don't know. I can't change it now. So there you go. uh, a DRON A list, dronalist. It's kind of like a journalist, but with a drone. So I'm like a
I get it.
journalist. You get it,
Hey,
right?
you don't.
Yeah. Okay.
I got it. You don't need to
All right.
explain it. I
Hey,
got it.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm the dronalist everywhere. Yeah, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok, and all that stuff. So find me there. Yeah, I'll be there.
That is awesome. Thank you so much for chatting with us today, man. I really appreciate your
Patrick, thank
time.
you. This was an amazing interview. Thank you for. I'm humbled to be here. So, yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome. I'll see you in the next one.
All right. Cheers. Bye bye now.
Thanks for joining me today. Don't forget that links to everything you need can be found down in the description. And if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, you can always follow me on Instagram by subscribing to @PatrickMurphy. And while we're talking about subscribing, go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. I'll see you in the next one.